I'm Captain Hepner, Training Academy. Today we're going to be going over Chapter 19 and 20 of the Pumping and Aerial Apparatus Driver Operator Handbook, IFSTA 3rd edition. Everybody's here certified on an aerial apparatus, correct?
Yes, sir.
Sheila? Yes? Explain safety considerations when climbing and riding on an aerial device. What do we have to keep us safe while we are climbing an aerial?
Ladder belts.
Ladder belts, correct. What else? 3 points of contact, correct. Firefighters must be protected against the possibility of falling when working at heights. This right here is your tether. You have these on Tower 2. You get in Tower 2, you put your tether on, then you can operate your apparatus. Got your different fall protection features: aerial ladder handrails, railing gates, fall restraint ladder belt, and your tethers. Firefighters must be aware of proper use of fall protection when operating on an aerial device. Tethers must be secured to a portion of the device that will support the load imposed by a fall. Firefighters who fall without being tethered may hang and be in danger of blood circulation being cut off. Most ladder belts and tethers are not designed for self-rescue. Use safe practices when climbing or descending the aerial ladder. Make sure you position the device before allowing personnel to climb or descend. Always maintain the 3 points of contact with the structural features at all time. Place feet on the rungs only. Anchor your safety tether to structural feature anytime you pause or you climb. Where we do ours at, we tether off to the rung on our ladder belt, correct? Aerial operator is responsible for the safety of people on the device whenever it is in motion. Never rotate, elevate, or lower device with unsecured people on the ladder. Anybody see the incident in Pennsylvania last week? They had a guy on an aerial device. Person at the pedestal, I don't know what happened, wasn't there. It's just an article I read. Ladder got retracted. Guy got his feet pinned, got his feet crushed. Then they had to use equipment to cut him out. So his feet got crushed and they had to damage to their aerial device. So never, ever, ever retract or extend a ladder with someone on it, okay? When would you rotate aerial with someone on it? Emergency operations, right? Something happens, got to get them out of the way. They're at the tip. Make sure they're secured, which they will be. Rotate them out of the way, okay? Fall hazard when the device is in motion. Use fall protection on ladders and in the platform. All right. We just talked about this. Never extend or retract the aerial device with people on the ladder. Creates pinch and crush hazards as rungs, handrails, and lattice work of ladder sections move past each other. Anybody certified on Tower 2 or ridden in the bucket on Tower 2? If you do not put your hands on the backside, because that is the pinch point for that ladder. It is constantly self-leveling as it's going up. When you go to bed it, if your hands are in the back, that's your pinch hazard on that ladder, okay? On that aerial. Modern platforms are equipped with railings and gates to improve the safety of personnel in the basket. Railings are not sufficient to protect occupants in adverse conditions. All personnel riding in the platform must be tethered to a structural feature. Anchor the tether as soon as you enter the basket and only unclip just prior to leaving. Never set platform device in motion unless all riders are securely tethered. That's if you're riding in Tower 2, get in, put your tether belt on, then you can operate the aerial, okay? Keep hands away of feet from pulley, sheaves, cylinders, and other moving parts. Identify our safe practices for operating aerial controls. Driver operators must be familiar with the controls used to make the aerial device function. know location, function, how it operates, when it should be used, and your appropriate safety precautions. I'm going to repeat myself a bunch. This all goes to know your apparatus. Okay? Know the apparatus you're assigned to. Know the apparatus that you got certified on. Okay? During operations, it may be necessary for other members of the department to communicate with the aerial operator. Communications about device movement must be clear and consistent. Can be a combination of verbal and hand signals. You may use commands. You'll hear it a lot on the radio when we're flowing our master streams. So-and-so to Quint 7, move your nozzle to the right. You're overshooting it. Make sure it's very clear. And make sure when you're telling that other company where to put that nozzle, if you're looking at them, make sure you're giving them the correct directions, okay? Always follow our SOPs. Always. Just like I just said, keep in mind that the use of terms such as rotate right or rotate left may be misinterpreted if the point of view is different between the person giving commands and the operator at the controls. Okay? Driver operators must be well trained in all aerial device operations. You must understand the function and operation of all stabilizing power and safety devices. You must know the limitations of your apparatus. Proper spotting angles, maximum loads, safe operating practices. This right here, solve tactical problems. You're an acting sergeant or you get promoted to a sergeant and you are assigned a truck company, you are making tactical decisions on your own, right? No one's telling you what to do. You have to be able to think for your own and think on your own 2 feet, correct? You get the opportunity to ride up as an acting truck sergeant. Do not see it as a break from the engine. Okay? Think of it as I have an opportunity to make decisions on my own today. All right? Know what you're doing. Aerial devices may be operated from one of 2 positions. We'll speak on our tower, Tower 2. You have your pedestal operator, and then you have secondary controls up in the bucket. Okay? There's a toggle on the pedestal that must be turned on to give the operators in the bucket power. Okay? When it's above 20 degrees or above, they can take control of the movements of the aerial, of the tower. All right? Usually what happens, the pedestal operator puts it in motion, gets them to the point where they need to be, then they can take over from there and fine-tune it. Okay? Safety feature of it is, pedestal operator always has to be on the pedestal. Reason being, operators up here are getting close to a hazard that they don't see, okay? Pedestal operator hits the throttle, kills power. It's a safety feature, okay? If you get the opportunity, ride on it, train on it. If you get over detailed over there, ask them to see how it works, okay? You got a joystick control up in here that they use. Got a throttle on the joystick, throttle engages it, then you can rotate, elevate, extend, all that good stuff. Primary control operator must observe the aerial operation and prepare to override the secondary control operator if unsafe conditions are encountered. That's that throttle at the pedestal. They just hit it, kills power, okay? When operating at the tip control, take the following precautions. Be aware of personnel on ladder sections behind the operator. Take care to place feet on the steps at the tip. What do we got up there? You climb up, pull your feet down, stand on those, ladder belt yourself in, correct? Good to go. Be aware of impeding water flow and monitor tower reaction. If you're driving, you got somebody on the tip, same thing as if you're doing a hand line. Don't open it all the way, right? You don't want water hammer if somebody's all the way up top. Open it slow, let the get your water to where it's going, then you can fully open it up, okay? Same thing as everything else. Be aware of electrical hazards and other obstructions. How far away are we from power lines?
The high power line's 50 feet.
Just normal, yeah, 50 feet, but 15 feet. Okay, 15 feet. Any aerial device should be placed no closer than 15 feet to any electrical high voltage wires. Information provided by OSHA and conversations directly with LG&E representatives indicate that positioning an aerial device within 15 feet of any electrical high voltage wire will cause imminent danger to life. Okay? Should be verified by the company officer, pedestal operator, and ground spotter. Okay? Never place personnel at the tip or platform of the aerial device if the operation can be accomplished without them being there. We now have remote controls for certain apparatus, and we also have tick cameras. Truck 1 has a remote control. Truck 3 has a tick at the end of their tip, and Quint 7 does also. So does the new engine company number 9. Okay, they do also. I have pictures at the end that I'll show you of those. Okay, I talked to the sergeant at the Del Park Fire Terrace. He said they got the ladder truck 1 up. Said he climbed up about halfway, used the remote to get it to where he wanted, came back down and just used it all night. Used the remote all night long. Nobody's at the tip. Okay, safe operation, right? We know our ladder capacity ratings are established for many different operating positions. What's our tip loads? Everybody know?
It's either 250 or 500.
Correct. Okay, 250, 500. Identify safe practices for operating telescoping aerial equipment. Got our aerial ladders, aerial platform ladders, telescoping elevating platforms, telescoping water towers. We all know that failure to properly stabilize the apparatus could result in tipping of the apparatus, correct? Raising the device means elevating the entire assembly from its stored position to a desired angle and useful position. We all know how to do this, correct? Elevate, rotate, and extend. Take it above your target and bring it back down, correct? Okay. When we lower the aerial, if we've flown water, what do we got to do?
Drain the waterway.
Drain the waterway, right? Okay. Tower 2, if it's up, needs to be at 60 degrees before you retract it. Needs to be at 60 degrees because of the cord reel on the side. Okay. When aerial device has been lowered and stowed, stabilizers raised, PTO disengaged, fire dump pump disengaged. If equipped, make sure it's ready for road travel, okay? Identify safe practices for operating articulating aerial equipment. Water towers, aerial platforms. That's the new engine 9. Is that engine 17? We do not have aerial platforms. Driver operators must stabilize the apparatus before conducting operations. Stabilize your apparatus. Raise your articulating device in a series of motions. Elevate, rotate, extend, and lower. Anybody certified on engine 9 or engine 17? No? Get the opportunity to go get certified on it. Okay? Booms are hydraulic operated by controls on the turntable, pedestal, or elsewhere on the device. Operational speed is directly proportional to the amount control lever is pushed or pulled. We all know that, right? Nice smooth motions when you're operating the aerial, operating your device. You let go real fast, what's going to happen? It's going to bounce, it's going to go side to side. Nice smooth controlled movements, correct? Right? Smooth to the left, smooth to the right, smooth extending, smooth lowering. Leave plenty of space for your elbow joint on the, if they're going to have to raise a squirt. Just goes back to proper positioning, okay? Describe the use of aerial ladder waterway delivery systems. Aerial ladders with attachable waterways. We don't use that anymore. All our ladders are pre-piped, okay? And then you got the aerial platforms. When using an aerial device as an elevated master stream, ensure that all manufacturer recommended procedures for device elevation and loading are carefully followed. That goes back to knowing your apparatus, okay? Each apparatus has its own specs. Make sure you know the apparatus you're certified on and the apparatus that you are driving. We talked about this earlier. All valves and nozzles must be opened and closed in a slow and controlled manner. Minimize shock loading the aerial device. Talked about this a second ago. Aerial ladders with pipe waterways and water towers may be equipped with remote controls. We just went over who had them. I'll show you pictures in a second when we get done with it, okay? How do we carry our aerial ladders? In what mode? Rescue mode. You pull up, you know you're going to need it. Big fire, big water, right? So you get out and you're going to do what? Move the pin, correct? We've all done that, correct? Okay. You check that pin in the morning? Right? Here's the water tower devices with the video camera. Coin 7, truck 3, engine 9, right? We just went over that. Have y'all got the opportunity to use it yet? Nope, okay. Just train with it and stuff? Elevated platforms provide a safer standing position for firefighters operating elevating master streams. Tower has a feature under here. Give you a little water curtain, 15 gallons a minute. Just give you a little water curtain when you're up top, okay? Describe safe practices in case of aerial device mechanical failure. Operating on a grade greatly complicates the dynamic stress factors placed on the aerial device and its components. Floor of platform and or knuckles between boom are not parallel to the ground. Can result in twisting force on entire aerial delivery system. Once again, driver operator must be conscious of conditions and knowledgeable of device limitations. Goes back to know your apparatus. Following keys are to safely and effectively operating on a grade, optimum positioning, proper stabilization of apparatus to counter increased risk, load restrictions for the given grade. We set our outriggers out on sidewalks? No. What about sidewalks downtown? Negative.
Because the manholes and
Manholes, underground vaults, okay? When can adversely affect the operational capability of the aerial device. Know your wind force and your wind shear. It's all right there, okay? Make sure you know that. Cold weather prevents several special considerations for the aerial apparatus driver operator. We have an SOP 117.02, okay? What is one way you can try to prevent ice buildup on your apparatus, on your aerial ladder? Ice shrugging, correct, right? Constantly just slowly move it up and down, correct? Per our SOP, if ice builds up and you cannot move it, what are you to do?
Contact the shop.
Contact the shop, correct. Do not try to force it. Do not try to break it. Notify your company officer. Notify the shop, okay? Aerial devices may be affected after coming into contact with superheated air or direct flame. Be aware of your conditions surrounding your aerial device. Prepare to reposition device when danger of heat exposure to extreme heat. That all goes into positioning, right? You got heavy fire, don't pull up right on it, right? Because if you got that aerial up, it got lines laid, it's going to be hard to get it out of the way, right? Just position properly, okay? If not, apply water streams to keep your device cool. Last thing you want to do is turn your apparatus into another exposure problem, okay? Heat damage to the aerial device may or may not be visible. Your signs of damage are discoloration, disfiguration, deformed welds, improper operation of aerial device, heat sensors that change color on aluminum apparatus. We all know when we all make big fires, we come in the morning, we sit around the kitchen table, we talk about it. The crew before you that you're relieving made a big fire that night, said they used the aerial. You go out, you check your aerial, right? They didn't get back till 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, changing hose, doing their thing. You go out, you look, you find something wrong. What is our process to write up something that's damaged on our apparatus?
Apparatus equipment repair.
Correct, right? Go to LFA, go SharePoint, write it up, apparatus equipment repair request, correct? Put it in your logbook.
Supposed to go to ship 4, right? Like, talk to them first?
Right.
Yeah. And then,
What I'm saying is they come in at nighttime, they don't get back till right at shift change, you check it out, you notice it, you find something wrong, or even if you're using it, what is our process if you find something wrong? How do you write up that apparatus, right? Apparatus equipment repair request, correct? Anything that comes off of the apparatus, tools, firefighting equipment repair request, correct? Those are your jobs as a sergeant. That is what you're writing up. You find something wrong, you write it up, you notify your company officer. We've got a huge SOP on out of service criteria, correct? Double check it. Take it out of service, take it out of service. Okay? You also log it where? Sergeant's log, correct? Driver operators must continually be on the lookout for signs of mechanical trouble. Like I just said, we have a large list, a large SOP on out of service criteria. We leak a lot of oil, right? We add oil to our apparatus. What do?
log it in the AL.
Log it in your AL, correct? All right, log it in the AL book. Documentation is huge for a sergeant, okay? Follow these steps if any indicators of mechanical failure are present. We already talked about it. Move personnel, obey the device, take it out of service, write it up, correct? Failure of the main hydraulic pump will typically require the auxiliary pump to be used. Everybody know our auxiliary pump operation? How long we can use it for? How long to let it rest?
Some of them vary.
Correct. Based on the apparatus. Correct.
The older ones, it's like 2 minutes out,
Correct.
5 minutes in.
Correct. You can use for 2, rest for 5.
And
The new Squirt 9,
no limit.
no limit. That's what they told me. Okay? Now, if you are using your auxiliary and something happens and you just got to get that aerial out of the way, it's impeded by fire, something happens, you're rotating it, you're retracting it, what are you doing? How are you getting that? What's your move to get that ladder out of harm's way?
I'm sorry, say it again.
You're using auxiliary power.
Yeah.
Something happens, you got to get that ladder out of the way. Are you rotating it out of the way or are you retracting it out of the way? You're just rotating it out of the way. Yep, you're just getting it out of the way. Right? Just get it out of harm's way, you're good.
So when I did my hook and ladder on old truck 7, and then I ended up having to do my aerial stuff on old auxiliary 101 because truck 7 went out of service, which is even older.
Correct.
And I was under the impression of 2 minutes working away from the apparatus, away from the bed section, and then rest or whatever, and then 5 minutes bringing back. And I might not, and then it was like 20 minutes of rest.
Each apparatus is different. That's where it goes back to your
That might have been after bedding, but like,
right.
It made it sound like if you're bringing it into the bed section, it's less force on the
correct.
motors. Therefore,
Correct.
You can work at a longer period of time coming down.
Right. But if you're in harm's way, you're just getting it out of the way, right? Because if it hits the fan and you got to get that apparatus out of the way, you're just getting it out of the way.
Yeah.
That's it, right? That's your main priority, is getting that aerial apparatus out of the way. Okay? Driver operators must be required to provide information about incident or damage to or failure of the device occurs. Driver may be called on to provide information such as weather, load, emergency factors. Something happens, how do we document stuff? We write letters, correct? All that stuff goes into your documentation. Weather conditions, all that stuff, okay? Aerial apparatus, below grade operations, below grade Stokes basket. Pulley the tip of the aerial device below grade. Used to support other operations without placing the tip below grade. Below grade Stokes basket. Y'all ever train on that? Yep. Beargrass Creek. There are a variety of situations that may require below grade operations. Special rescue operations, creating a high point anchor for a rope rescue system that moves the load, deploying master streams to below grade locations. That's what our engines can do, engine 9, engine 17, right? They can get down low grade. We've set up anchoring for Rescue 2 with the wing jacks before. So they could do a little rope rescue, okay? Know your apparatus, right? These are all just general safety rules for your aerial devices. We've kind of already covered all of them. Perform your inspections daily between each shift per your SOPs, right? Check them out every day, correct? Right? Ventilate the area and wear PPE when inspecting batteries. Eyes and ears, gloves when you're working with your tools, right? Stay clear of moving or rotating parts. Stay clear of your hot surfaces. Thoroughly read and understand the operator manual. It's just going back to knowing your apparatus, okay? Enter and exit and work on apparatus. Talked about it earlier, 3 points of contact. Adjust your seat, mirrors, pedals, and steering wheels to fit the driver. If you're driving that day, don't wait till you make your first run to adjust your seat, to adjust your mirrors, and all that stuff, okay? That should be one of the first things you do. Get in there and set up that apparatus the way you want it, okay? It's not the time to ask CAP to adjust your mirror when you're making your run driving down the street, okay? Go ahead and get everything set, all right? Make sure all your compartment doors, ladders, and loose equipment. What happens who's responsible if you pull out and that door's not shut and it swings open and hits the firehouse? Sergeant, who's ultimately held responsible for everything. Your company officer, correct? Once again, make sure everything's secured, okay? Make sure everybody's seated and belted. Secure your aero device in the cradle and stow all your stabilizers. Follow these general safety rules when driving an apparatus. You're only going to drive it if you're trained, licensed, and authorized. We have our certification process correct. We have an SOP on this. Correct? Use a spotter when backing up. correct? What happens if you're backing up and you see that you do not have a spotter? What are you to do? Stop. Correct? Driving speeds appropriate to conditions. Watch for low bridges and overhead obstructions. That's for the height of your apparatus. There's some apparatus that can't get underneath train trestles, right? I know for a fact there's some in Tower 2's first alarm district. You got to know a certain way. I know engine 1 that's like that with the trestles on Belmar. Hazmat van can't get underneath of it. Know your first alarm district, okay? Know how you're going to get to and from, okay? That's knowing your first alarm district. Obey all traffic signals, right? Stop at red lights, stop at your stop signs. Look ahead and anticipate the need to brake or maneuver. Anybody see the video from Oakland, California this past week? Okay, I got it for you, I'll show it to you. Okay, don't fall into the habit if you're following another company, don't follow their tail lights. Just because they cleared the intersection doesn't mean it's going to be clear for you. Okay, if you're driving that second apparatus. Always drive and look for people and the things they do. Okay? People will stop in front of you instead of pulling to the right. They will slam on their brakes. Always be aware. Once again, use the spotter when backing up. Position the apparatus can be set up on firm surfaces. We just talked about that. Position so the aerial can reach the final position without exceeding its reaching capacity. Why do we position on the corner? Both sides. Collapse zone, corner's strongest part. When you say you reach sides, what area is that called? Scrub area, correct. All right, don't position where exposed to falling debris. Always use warning lights when positioning in traffic. Right, we have a SOP for that also, correct? Never position on railroad tracks or an active airport runway. Okay? This is just going over it again, everything we've just talked about. Okay? Just a repeat. Talked about controls from the operator's platform, not from the ground. Secondary operator at the tip. This is just review. Okay? Don't exceed the load charts. Know your apparatus. Never extend or retract personnel on the ladder. Right? Approaching a structure, always finish by lowering. We talked about ICE, our SOP. Okay? Always use approved fall equipment. 3 points of contact. Stay clear of swinging structures and other moving parts of aerial during operation. Never hold on to ladder handrails, rungs, or lacings with aerial extending or retracting. Talked about that. This is our review also. Follow these general strategies and tactics. We approach victims from where? Upwind or downwind? Upwind, correct? Upwind. We talked about aiming above the victim and bringing the ladder back down to them. Why do we do that?
They don't reach out or jump.
So they don't reach or jump, correct? They reach or jump, they have the possibility of missing. Or if they actually make it, they could hit you, knock you off if you're climbing up trying to get them. Or they dynamic load on the aerial, okay? Take it above them, bring it back down to them. All right? Here's this video. I don't know any situation other than the video itself. So I'm just showing you the video and I can't speak about anything else, but hopefully we can get this thing to play. For you all that haven't seen it. So you got your engine come through, right? That's the situation y'all are going to be in, being an apparatus operator. Okay? Those are things you got to think about. Right? They're very lucky. They got injured, I'm sure. They drove into a building. But you got to think, if he would have went straight and hit that car, what do you think would have happened? But then you also got to think, what would have happened if there had been somebody standing on that corner? Right? Those are the situations you're going to have yourself. You got to be able to react. Y'all want to take a break, or y'all want to keep rolling? Charles, call. Whatever y'all want to do. Y'all want to roll with it? Okay. Aerial Apparatus Strategies and Tactics, Chapter 20. Describe effective communication procedures for aerial operations. Use of effective communication allows for early and correct aerial placement and efficient operations. Successful communications for aerial operations include pre-arrival, on-scene, and tactical. Pay attention to the radio. Listen to the radio. Know what you're doing. That all goes back to the very first slide of being able to solve problems, solve tactical problems, right? Listen to your on-scene call-in. Don't be jabbering in the back seat, talking real loud. You got to hear what's going on, okay? Pre-arrival communications include specific information about the initial phase of the incident. Officers and driver operators communicate direction of approach, decision to stage or commit, water supply management. We all know what our predetermined assignments are, correct? First truck, second truck, first, second, third, fourth engine, right? We know from being on and driving and riding that if this box goes out, I know where I'm going to meet so-and-so at what intersection. If we're coming from quarters, correct? We know that. Be aware of that. Okay? I could tell you where I was going to meet truck 7 if we made this run when I drove. I knew exactly where they were going to be at what specific time. We always got to the same place at the same time. So be aware of that. Okay? On-scene communications include specific information about size up and placement. Officer and operator size up. Confirm your water supply strategy. Location of your turntable placement. Hand signals. Communication devices. Directions to guide operator. Right? We got those iPads now. I don't know if y'all have ever used them. They're a very good tool. Get them out. Play with them. Look at them. The maps are pretty cool. Okay? You still need to know your first alarm district though. Because those iPads, something might happen. They might go down. You got to know where you're going. Okay? Tactical communications include specific information related to deployment and operations. Aerial deployment. Guide aerial ladder into position. Direct your master stream at your target. We all got headsets on our apparatus now, right? Tillerman can talk to the driver, correct? Guide each other in, help each other out. Aerial devices offer access to upper levels. This access can be used for many strategies and attacks. We can rescue, we can ventilate, elevated fire attack, emergency escape, and equipment delivery. Can we climb all of our aerial ladders in the city of Louisville? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No. You cannot climb Tower 2. It is emergency egress only. That's another reason why you have to have someone at the pedestal. Something happens, they need to climb down that ladder. There's pins at each rail. Pull the pins, deploy the handrail. They go up, deploy the pin, handrail. Climb up, deploy the pin, handrail. Now they can safely make egress down that ladder, okay? Aerial ladders you can climb all day long. Tower 2 is emergency egress only, okay? May be necessary to use an aerial device to rescue victims. Firefighters involved must always be aware of weight limitations. We already talked about our tip loads, right? 250, 500, depending on the apparatus. This goes back into knowing your apparatus, right? Best approach is made from upwind on a level grade and without obstructions. Perpendicular in line with your victim, right? That is the ideal location. What do we have in our city that makes that very difficult? Power lines, trees, right? Park cars along the roadways. That's where it comes into knowing your apparatus. Sometimes you got to set them outriggers out between two cars. You got to know how far them outriggers go out, right? Know your apparatus, correct? We talked about this, positioning at the corner. We already discussed it. Reach victims on both sides. You're parked on a 1-2 corner. Where's the second truck in the rear being parked at?
Opposite corner.
Opposite corner, right? That's part of paying attention, right? Oh, shoot. If rescues to be made from an area threatened by fire, hose lines can be used to protect victims, rescuers, and the aerial. Preferred procedure is use a wide-angle fog stream to cool and or protect the aerial device and personnel while rescue is in progress. Use caution to avoid injuring people or compromising their balance while on the aerial device. Civilians coming down an aerial device, they've never been on a ladder, they're going to be freaking out, okay? You got to take that into consideration. Plan for getting the victim onto an aerial platform will determine the placement of the apparatus. This apparatus, the door swings out, right? So they got to stop well short of their target, swing the door open, then bring it back in. Tower ladder we have, Tower 2, door swings inward. So you can put it right up on your target, swing the door inward, get your victim out, close your door, take them to safety. Okay? Not all rescue scenarios are presented in the optimal situation. The techniques listed here are based upon the best approach possible under the circumstances provided. Nothing's ever textbook, right? That's why we solve problems tactically, correct? Always got to be able to think on your feet. It's ever-changing environment. Okay? Best position for raising the aerial is one in which the extended and rotated device is perpendicular with the objective. We just talked about that. Okay? In the perpendicular position, twisting stresses imposed on the aerial are reduced. If an aerial is designed to be used in the unsupported position, the tip should be placed above the target spot. We've already talked about that a handful of times. Older apparatus perpendicular positioning allows for maximum load carrying capabilities. When optimal positioning is not possible, extend the aerial ladder toward the objective spot at an angle. This is the angle you would be for your scrub area, correct? You're parked at a corner. You extend your ladder at an angle, correct? Bring it back down. Okay, everybody understands that, correct? Extend the ladder so that the beam on the building side of the ladder is above and over the objective. Do we ever rest the aerial ladder on the structure? No. Okay. Already talked about this. Aim above, lower down, correct? Placement of the tip is an important consideration when victims are to be removed through a window. When using an aerial ladder, the first rung of the ladder tip should be placed even with the window sill. I'm going to throw you a question. Okay? I'm going to throw you a scenario right now. That's your window. That's your seal. That's the top of your window. How much space you got from that seal down to the floor? 2 or 3 feet, being on the window. Could be more, could be less, right? You got a tiny window, you think that person's going to be able to get up over that aerial and down. Okay? Each situation dictates itself, correct? Window might be big enough where they can hug the seal and get out, right? That's why we're up there. It's a tiny window. Where's our ladders go for rescue? Our ground ladders. Go to the base of the seal, right? Each scenario dictates itself, okay? Be able to solve problems tactically, in a tactical manner, correct? It all goes back to that, okay? When using aerial platforms, most fire departments prefer that the top of the rail be placed evenly with the window seal. Once again, their apparatus, their doors swing outward. That's why they do that. Our doors swing inward. Okay? We can get it up there even with the seal and they can just come right out. Okay? Does that make sense? Follow these guidelines when positioning the aerial device for rescue from a roof or open flat area. Why do we have it 6 feet above the roof edge? Hold on and get off, right? You take it up that way, you're ventilating the roof with an aerial ladder, you get off, you open it up, visibility becomes really low. What do we have on the end here? We got lights, right? Tips are painted orange. Find that light, you find that handrail, you can get on that ladder and get down to safety, right? If it's all the way down low, now you're at the roof's edge, trying to find that tip. Right? That's not what you want to do, okay? Follow these guidelines when positioning the aerial device for rescue from a roof or open flat area. Aerial platform should be placed so that the bottom of the platform is just above and over the edge of the roof. Our tower ladder has bumpers, right? If you're operating it, be aware of those bumpers. The last thing you want to do is get those bumpers caught on that roof line, right? You force it, what could happen? Dynamic load, you're not tethered in, bad things happen, right? Know your apparatus, okay? Parapet wall, correct? Is that right? Last resort, correct? What's your first core? What would you try to do first? Besides bringing somebody down this way. This is your last option. Huh?
Get on the side of the building.
Or what else do we have in place? Where's our second truck? Other corner, right? You can walk them to the other corner, walk them to the other corner. Or if there's an interior stairwell, take them down the interior stairwell, right? This is last resort.
Part of Whiskey Road is like this now. A whole bunch of them like that.
Big parapet wall.
Because they didn't finish like what they used to have was most of the floors were finished, but now they have like only like 3 floors finished, and you can see through some windows out.
Mm-hmm. That's part of getting out and owning your first alarm district. Somebody posed a question earlier in class earlier. How do you know how big the parapet wall is? Fair question. How do you know what a parapet wall is? Fair question, right? You ever seen it where you have the parapet wall and you got the gutters at the base? Then you got the roof up? There's your height to get down to from your parapet wall. That's just paying attention to your first alarm district and paying attention to building construction. Okay? Buildings paint a lot of pictures. You just got to look at them and read them the right way. Okay? But that's going to be a last-ditch effort. I'm going to try to find that other truck company to come up on the backside where there's no parapet wall and get them off. Okay? Once the aerial device is properly positioned, rescuers may remove victims from the structure. Techniques: used will depend on type of aerial device, the age and condition of the victims. At least one and preferably two firefighters should assist the victims in boarding and descending the ladder. When two or more firefighters are available, one should assist victim from inside. You're going to have your interior crew anyway, right? Others remain on the tip of the ladder. What's our tip loads? 250, 500. If you're on a 250 pound tip ladder, think about this evolution they have going on right here, okay? Take caution to make sure that multiple victims are adequately spaced down the length of the ladder, according to the manufacturer's recommendation to avoid overloading it. Okay? Small children and adults incapable of climbing down the ladder by themselves will have to be carried or supported. Larger victims will require other methods of carrying, such as knee set method. All right? It's going to be a very physically taxing move. Okay? Last ditch effort again. Okay? Know how to do it. Second method is useful for unconscious or severely injured victims. Position victim across rails or ladder with firefighter supporting from below. Just take a look at that picture. Okay? And just think about that in your own head. Okay? The over-the-shoulder carry is the most difficult and risky. Okay? Got it? Got that picture in your head? Moving victims in an aerial platform is easier than backing them down aerial ladders, not suited to mass evacuations from a single point. Removal of conscious victims requires at least one and preferably two firefighters. Potentially severe and damaging dynamic load can be created when victims jump. During the rescue, follow specific instructions for lowering passengers into the platform. Low capacity and space inside the platform will determine the number of passengers. You can put a Stokes basket on Tower 2 right here and secure a victim. Okay? Know your apparatus. You know you're going up to get somebody, get them on a longboard, take that Stokes up there. They can put them in the Stokes. You can bring them down nice and easy. Okay? The inside crew can hand it off. You position that apparatus the right way. You can put it right there. Okay? See what I'm saying? Position it the right way. You can get them in that. You can bring that longboard up, get that Stokes basket up there. You can get them in there. Know this method. Jumping onto the aerial device can cause catastrophic failure. We all know that. We've covered that a bunch. Lowering Stokes basket using an aerial ladder should be used as a last resort. The easiest method, slide the basket down the ladder. Last resort, right? Stokes basket operations, everyone knows how to do that, correct? Make sure you keep your rope here where about 6 to 8 feet. You don't want it dangling, you don't want it too far. Get them off the roof. It starts swinging. You got a conscious victim, right? They might panic. You got them strapped down. Don't freak them out. Okay? Nice, smooth, easy movements like we talked about earlier. Aerial devices may be used for water rescue in several scenarios. I think Quinn 10 had one a few years ago during one of the floods. I think Beargrass was flooded. Guy got out of his car, got swept into a tree. They pulled up, set it up, went out, got the guy, brought him back. You do that, make sure you have a PFD, make sure you got solid ground. Ground's already going to be saturated, right? What's the old saying? Big risk, big reward. Low risk, low reward, right? Know your apparatus, know its capabilities. Okay? Several safety issues affect the use of aerial apparatus during water rescue. Often a lack of suitable location to stabilize apparatus, potential for the aerial device to make contact with swiftly moving water. The aerial device is not designed to handle excessive lateral stress. Aerials that have a low tip load rating when fully extended to a horizontal objective can be overloaded. We always wear what around water? PFDs, correct? Explain the ways an aerial apparatus may be used in ventilation. Aerial device can also assist in ventilating the fire building. Used to place firefighters on the roof or provide access to upper story windows. Proper placement can make ventilation process quick and safe. Position apparatus on the unburned side of the structure. Okay? It's close to the area being ventilated. We horizontally ventilate. We do it from what side? Upwind, downwind? Upwind, correct. Analyze the considerations of using the aerial apparatus during elevated fire attack. Let me go back and slide real fast for you guys that aren't certified on Tower 2. That tower, you can manually move the bucket, okay? You got a super steep pitch roof. You can take it up there and manually override it, take that bucket and drop it down, and you can ventilate from just standing there. Then when you go to move it again, it self-levels, you get out of the way and bring it down. It's one advantage of it, okay? Elevated master streams are most commonly used in defensive operations. Protect your exposures. Master streams, you can do a direct fire attack, cool your embers, gases in the thermal column. We already talked about this. Why do we park in the corner of the building? Damage the truck, injury to firefighters, damage from radiant heat from a fire. What's our collapse zone? Correct, 1.5 times height of the structure. Driver operators must need to know certain information before applying water from an aerial master stream. Volume to be delivered, type of stream to be used, placement of the stream. We now have the TIC cameras that assist with the placement of the stream, right? Now we won't be overshooting buildings. We can put it right where we need it to, correct? Good tool. When using a master stream in a blitz attack, position apparatus to give the fire stream as much reach as possible. Your ultimate goal is to place a nozzle in the lower portion of the window opening, right? The bank down method, we all know that, right? Some cases, aerial device may be used as a master stream closer to ground level. You can do that with your aerial, but we got engine 9, engine 17, that can get even lower, right? Get the opportunity to get certified on them. Both the solid stream nozzle and fog nozzle have their respective place in aerial operations. Both types should be carried on the apparatus if possible. Nozzle should be provided its rated flow and pressure. We carry fog nozzles, right? On our aerials. You need that smooth bore, you take it off and change it out, right? Carefully placed solid or straight master stream from the exterior of a building is often referred to as a blitz attack. Before this is done, as an apparatus operator, what do you have to make sure correct, right? So you have to listen to the radio, okay? What do we do when we do an evacuation? We do a PAR, right? Listen for the PAR. Make sure everybody's out of the building, right? Listen to the radio. Pay attention to the scene. Know when you open it up. Do not open it up with anyone inside that building, okay? Ensure that no firefighters or victims are on the fire floor when outside streams are directed into the building. There's your bank down method. Best way to effect a blitz attack with an elevator master stream is to deflect water off the ceiling of the fire room. Can be accomplished by positioning aerial device so nozzle's about even with the bottom of the window. Okay? That position allows water to enter the area at an angle of about 30 degrees. Most common use of elevated master streams is in defense operations. Everybody's been on a defensive fire, correct? Everybody's made them, right? Defensive attack is an exterior attack with an emphasis on exposure protection. The objective of a defensive attack is to contain your fire within a specified area. Consider the indicators of a potential defensive attack: fire or building conditions that prohibit safely advancing hand lines into the building. Incident commander opts to sacrifice part of the building to the fire. Large amounts of water needed to extinguish the fire. Right? You roll up, large fire, large water, be prepared to use your master stream. Right? Go ahead and get it set up. Using the aerial as an exterior standpipe to upper floors is a tactic that can eliminate difficult hose lays. Everybody done that? Put portable standpipe on, done portable standpipe operations? Correct? Where would you use your portable standpipe?
Parking garages, expressways, hotel, I mean.
Buildings under construction that don't have the standpipes and everything done yet, right? Y'all are on the right path. Okay. Parking garages, building on roofs, bridges, overpasses, buildings under construction. Okay? An exposure is defined as a structure or separate part of the fire ground to which the fire might spread. We all know how it does it: conduction, convection, radiation, correct? Various conditions may affect exposure hazards: weather, fuel, topography, building construction, spacing between the fire building and the exposure, intensity of the fire. Right? We pull up, house is fully going, exposure problem. What's your number one priority? Exposure, right? Protect that exposure. Okay? Both current and recent weather conditions affect the fire's ability to spread to exposures. Obviously, rain reduces the potential for fire spread. Wind increases it, correct? Type of construction and proximity of exposure to the fire building also affect the chance of the exposure catching fire. We already talked about this. Don't make the apparatus an exposure hazard. Position properly, okay? Water applied directly on the exposure more effectively absorbs heat energy and reduces its ability to catch fire. This is just one little way you can do cool your aerial ladder. Convective fire spread, defensive operation, correct? This is all stuff we've covered. Limited. Main fire building exposure. 2 nozzles. One can be applied to the fire building, one to the exposure. Positioning apparatus to provide exposure protection may also create unique challenges.
Can I roll cap?
See you later. Positioning apparatus to provide exposure protection.
Yeah, it does. Stove fire.
Positioning apparatus to provide exposure protection may also create unique challenges. Apparatus should be not put into situations where measures must be taken to protect the apparatus itself. Same thing. Don't make your apparatus an exposure problem. This stuff we've already talked about: exposure protection, wide sweeping nozzle patterns. That's it. Let me show you these pictures real fast. This is engine 9 stick camera on the new engine 9. Okay. That's their remote control right there. That's just another view of it. That's the actual camera itself that's on the apparatus. Okay. Truck 1's remote. That's the power button. That's how you use it. Fog, straight, up, down, left, right. Pretty self-explanatory, correct? Any questions? Comments? Concerns? Thank you all.